Welcome to the live. Yes. So happy Friday. Happy creating, happy manifesting. You guys are all really powerful. So today I thought I'd just come on and answer some of your guys' questions today. So if you would like me to specifically answer your question, then you can post it on the Patreon. The link is in the YouTube description. We are live on TikTok and YouTube, so really excited about that. And yeah, guys, of course, we're having a contest and descriptions in the YouTube videos, as well as yeah. Hi everybody. Hello. Oh, you guys are beautiful. Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you. Aw, thank you, guys. You guys are all amazing. Hello from Scotland. Love your name, Amanda Hamilton. Love your name. So yeah, excited. I didn't really have anything specific to talk about, so I was hoping that you guys had some questions, check in to see what was going on with you guys, what I can help clear up anything like that from how I understand how creating. Yeah, and guys, you know what? If you guys are interested in any sort of discounts or deals, or to know when coaches are putting out courses, meditations, definitely check out the mailing list that we have. So we email everybody on there when there's a sale and stuff like that. So here's a really good question. Eileen, you're welcome. You know what? Seeing success stories is what gets me up in the morning, you know? And yeah, if you like to work with us one day, you can definitely email into our sessions at createyourfuture.co email, and our receptionist, Brandy, will send your email on over to our operations manager. So yes, oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. You guys are all amazing. So here was a really good question to start out with. Let's take a look here. Let's take a look. So one was here, what was a good daily practice be? So for me, a really good daily practice that I like to do, and this may be different for everybody, but what I personally like to do is I like to wake up in the morning and remind myself that everyone is me pushed out and that my thoughts are creating. And, you know, the sooner I do this in a day, the quicker I'm going to stop reacting and doing all these other things. The other thing that I like to do daily is intend that I can see how everyone is me pushed out. So it was just yesterday, my mom was over for dinner and Andrew was here, and I was thinking something and I said it, and they were both just like, we were just thinking that. And I was like, of course you were, right? So, you know, when we have those moments of everyone is you pushed out and we see that our thoughts are creating, it's much more easier when things happen, when we create things we don't want, to not react over them, because it's like, well, our thoughts are still creating. You know what I mean? Like something this morning showed up in my email and I wasn't so happy with it. And I was like, you know what? I'm like, I had this thought yesterday. I totally had this thought yesterday. I'm like, and I didn't like the thought and I didn't change it. And here it is showing up. So, oh, you know what? At least it's still working. You know what I mean? So, but anything that we do create, we can change. So that would be my thing, is a daily practice of, you know, reminding yourself of who you are and creating that little list of everyone as you pushed out. Because a lot of the times, to create the really big things in life, the things that you think are absolutely unobtainable, it comes from all your experience of seeing how everyone is you pushed out and building your belief, right? So, you know, there are things that I will manifest now that, you know what, 5 years ago, I would have thought were absolutely impossible. But I built my belief and I've created so many things that I'm like, oh yeah, that's no problem, right? So you want to create that experience for yourself, right? Create, you know, I worked up small and got bigger because I didn't want to set myself up for failure. People like to, you know, be grateful and thankful for things that they have. I mean, that's a great practice as well. You know, I'm grateful and happy for everything I have, but I don't really, you know, sit down and do that. The other thing I do every day is I do go, okay, what do I want to experience today? What great things are going to happen today? The other thing that I do, right, when I am feeling like, oh, okay, nothing's working out, I think of a time where I've created it before or something similar to it. And then I'm like, oh yeah, why am I even worried? Like seriously, why am I even worried? So yeah. Oh, you're welcome, Jason. Oh, you can have everything. I know Ani is amazing. Somebody else sit here. I wish I had Ani. Ani had more availability. She does quite a few sessions a day, so she does have courses out. But definitely you can put yourself on her wait list in case anyone cancels. But yeah, really incredibly popular. She's an amazing coach. So yeah, let's see. Oh, Gabby, I'm so glad the channel has changed your life for the better. You're so welcome. So, yeah, so let's see here. What other questions do we have? Let's see here. Okay, what advice would you give someone who struggles with sticking with their assumptions? I start off well, however, then I start questioning myself and going back to a negative story. So, yeah, right where you start questioning yourself, we've got to stop there. So when we create our assumptions, right, we've got to, it's when we look back, okay, and we say, okay, look at this person's always done this. And then if we are using their past behavior to create our assumptions about them or assumptions about things, and then for the future, then we're just recreating that. So, first of all, you need to catch yourself and be on a mental diet when you're struggling to stick to your new assumptions, right? And whether you believe it or not, you just have to think it. You just have to say it. But the second thing that I would do, right, is like I said in the beginning, is create that little list. Like really, immerse yourself in knowing how everyone is you pushed out. So then you can look at a situation and go, okay, you know what? I can change my assumption about this. Like the past is the past, right? Or at least having the thought that anybody can change, right? So, but again, if you start off questioning yourself, you got to stop yourself there. And no questioning. Questioning is a block. There's nothing to question. You're the only one in your universe that's creating. So when you question, who are you asking? There, the answers. So instead of questioning in those moments, start giving yourself the answers. No, this is my new assumption. I'm going to see evidence of this assumption. This assumption is going to happen, and it can be quite the little fight in your own head. But I mean, you've got to fight the good fight, right? And or create your assumptions that are a little bit more in line. So like one thing, right? Okay, there's been things in my relationship, say with Andrew, that haven't been so great. And there's been a history of him doing whatever that's, annoyed me or upset me. And then, what? I always create that he is understanding, he's forgiving, and that he is possible of changing. And, and with that basis of that assumption about him, there's things that we've completely changed, right? So we have to see, people as, being able to change. If you say, oh, well, they'll never change, well, then they're never going to change. But really, when it comes to your assumptions, you've got to stick with them. And we got to stop ourselves. As soon as we start going down that questioning rabbit hole, it's like, nope, we're not doing that right now. We are not doing that. We are going to focus on what we want. And sometimes when I've gotten into that sort of momentum of questioning and start going back to the negative, I'll sit down with a piece of paper and pen and start writing out my intentions. You know what I mean? Like really put all my focus there and not let my head wander off on a little mental diet fight of, oh, I want this to happen, but it's not going to happen while I'm doing dishes or something like that. Right. So yeah. Let's see here. How do you live in your desire and in the 3D, which is different at the same time? I mean, that's a very excellent question. So, it comes down to not resisting your current reality. So, how do you live with your desire? Okay, so for instance, right, me and Andrew were living together for the longest time, and he constantly kept saying that he didn't want to get married. So, we're living together. I brought up marriage, and he was like, no, I'm never getting married again. And of course, I wanted to get married. So, in the 3D with him, I was just like, that's okay. You don't want to get married. You've had a bad experience. That's totally fine. And then in my mind, right, I lived in my desire. So I sat down and I'm like, well, I thought to myself, we're pretty much married anyway. We live together. Like, what's the difference if we have a wedding and live together or we just live together? So I'm like, obviously he's going to want to marry me because he's going to realize that there's no difference and we're pretty much already married. And that's the reality and the reason and the assumption that I kept in my head. So regardless of what your 3D is showing you, you have to accept it. You have to say, okay, this is fine. I've created this. And then go into your mind and live in your desired reality in your mind to a point, right? It's not like did I run around and, start making wedding plans and start acting as if I was married while I was, just living with Andrew and he didn't want to? Well, no, I respected my 3D reality. I didn't resist it. I didn't fight with him over it. I didn't do anything like that. I just said, okay, you know what? You're not ready. That's the assumption I gave it. And then I started working on the assumption in my head. Oh, he's going to be over it. You know what? He realizes we're already married. He's going to want to get married. So regardless of where you are in your 3D, you want to live in your desired reality in your head. So that'll be with your reactions. Okay. So let's look at it this way. If we did let's say we are getting married, but when we are married, right? If I look back on the situation, how was I acting as if? Okay, well, for instance, right? I love him and I wanted to marry him, and I created him to have a story that he didn't want to get married again. So instead of resisting my current reality, I accepted it, right? So that's how you live from your current, like your desired reality is in your reactions, in your thoughts, right? So my story, when we're already married, I'm going to look back and be like, yeah, Andrew wasn't ready, but then he realized, you know what, that we were already living together and we're pretty much already married, right? So you create the story in your head of what you want to see play out in your reality. But at the same time, it's like resisting your reality would be fighting with Andrew, saying, oh my goodness, you're not going to marry me. I'm wasting my time. We already live together. So all those reactions are just going to basically slow down your manifestation, because you're focusing in on him not wanting to get married, which if you want to get married, then you can't focus and react to him not wanting to get married. If I wanted him, and I did manifest him wanting to get married, we're getting married next year, I was from the standpoint of, it's okay, I accept this, I've created him like this is what I want going forward. So we never fought about it. We never, it never ended up in tears on my end. I never reacted to it. I just simply was like, I get it. Okay, you're not ready. I realized I created that. And I went from, okay, well, if we were going to get married, what would my thoughts be? Okay, my thoughts would be that he does want to marry me and he feels like we're already married. So that's why he's going to want to marry me. Okay, so you're coming from that end. Do you get what I'm saying? So yeah, it's like, money, when you manifest money, okay, if you've got zero money in your bank account, okay, and you got a bill come in, okay, living from the end of having money, right, in that moment, you would say to yourself, no, it's okay, the bills come in, you won't react over no money in the bank account, freak out, worry about how you're going to pay it. Your mind will be like, I've got more than enough money to pay this. Money's going to come in and I can pay this. That's living from the end of having enough money to pay that bill, even though your 3D reality isn't showing it. Do you know what I mean? So, it's a balancing act where we do have to, we have to respect and we have to accept and we have to be thankful for our current reality, because honestly, no matter where your current reality is right now, you've created it. It's your creation, whether you like it or not. It is 100%. So there's no point fighting it and the 3D, reacting to it, getting upset at it. What we need to do is we need to say to ourselves, okay, this is my 3D reality. How do I want my reality to be tomorrow? How do I want it to be going forward? Now, if I was a person with money, would I be reacting to a bill coming in the mail? Right? No. Of course not. So you start acting like that, even though your 3D reality isn't showing that. I'm not saying go out and spend like a baller and like lots of money, live within your means, but not having that anxiety. So you say, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to get a raise at work, or you know what, sales are going to go up 500% in a month, or however you manifest money, or I'm going to get some unexpected money, or I'm going to get a check in the mail to cover this, or you don't even have to do the how. Okay. So I intend that answers your questions. How often do we affirm throughout the day? I get confused with the repetition part. Okay, so you intend and affirm throughout the day as much as you want, but there's one time you have to do it. You have to do it, okay, when you're having negative thoughts about a situation, okay? So let's say, for instance, I want Gerry to, ask me out on Friday. Okay. And I set that intention. Gerry's going to ask me out on Friday. And let's say it's Monday. And halfway through the day at Monday, I'm like, oh my goodness, you know what? I don't think he's going to do it. At that moment, you got to go, no, Gerry's going to do it. Gerry's totally going to ask me out. He's going to do it, on Thursday or whatever. He's going to do it before Friday. And we're going to have a great time. So you're affirming anytime you have a thought that is the opposite of what you want. Okay. So it's kind of like whenever you have a thought, your first question should be is, do I want to keep that thought? Like, do I want to create that? And if your answer is no, then you need to change that thought. Okay. So that's just the basic mental diet. You got to listen to yourself all day. When you start thinking about Gerry and the date and you start to get upset and anxious, okay, you need to check in with yourself. You need to start doing some affirmations, because your thoughts are going to create those emotions in you. Okay. Now, the other time is like, when you're just going about your life and you just think about it. And then sure, throw some affirmations in there, right? The more affirmations you put in and the more you create that positive story, the more you're going to have it ingrained in you. Okay. So like, for instance, if you've ever tried to like start changing a story that you have, right? And if you've ever noticed, you have like, when you first like say that's just terrible, you've got all this past history and you try to start doing positive intentions and it's really staticky in your head and it's like, oh my goodness, right? So you want to do enough affirmations to change a situation where they start flowing naturally. So what I'll normally do is I will write down all the affirmations that I want to create. I'll read them through a few times, get familiar with them, and then I'll keep doing them. You've got to affirm until things show up in your reality. There is no, okay, well, because you may have a negative thought and that'll block it, right? Or there may be a few thoughts and they're blocking the whole thing from coming through. So affirm as much as you feel comfortable, but you always have to listen to your thoughts and affirm the opposite if you have a thought that you don't want to create. Okay, that's not in line with your end goal. Okay. Yeah, I intend that makes sense. I totally intend that makes sense. Let's take a look here. Oh, TikTok, you can see it. I made this shirt. Believe in yourself. See? Believe in yourself. I made it with my Cricut. Andrew brought me a Cricut. It was a funny manifesting story. Back years ago when TikTok first came out, I was watching TikTok and I would see all the Cricut machines and how everybody was making stuff. And I'm like, thought to myself, I want a Cricut. I want a Cricut. And then all of a sudden for my birthday, Andrew bought me a Cricut. So it was like really weird. I remember showing him like, we'd be laying in bed and he'd see the videos I was watching. He's like, what's that? I'm like, it's a Cricut. But I never told him I wanted one. And then he was like, oh, he was like, I thought it was neat. So I bought you one. And I was like, wow, look at that. So I made a t-shirt. So yeah, what else do we have here? Tips to manifesting clearer skin. Well, guys, I have done that. I have done that. So, I mean, what I used to always do is I would actually start intending that my skin was clear. And even when I broke out, I would say, nope, my skin's completely clear. It's always clear. I also too decided, so no matter what I look like, I also decided that I would basically use a placebo. So what I started doing was I intended to find a skincare product line and intend that would work. So I think, with health and beauty things like in changing our appearance, sometimes, I've heard in the law of attraction world that it's like, well, if you don't do it yourself with your mind, then you failed, right? Well, the thing is, right, is Tylenol to get rid of a headache. I mean, they don't even know how Tylenol works. We just take it and somehow we believe it's going to get rid of our headache and it gets rid of our headache. So the Tylenol wasn't what got rid of our headache to begin with. It was actually our thoughts believing that the Tylenol would get rid of our headache. And, so I did that. I intended to find a skincare cream that would work and, and it totally works. So I just use Clinique, right? Like I don't actually use any acne stuff, but my skin was already clear before then, but it had like dark spots. And I said, no, you know what? I intend that they put out a cream that I can put on and it's going to help. And every time I put on the cream, I'm like, nope, dark spots are gone. My skin looks even. Every time I wash my face, I'm like, you know what? My skin is absolutely clear. So I use those products as a way to remind myself to intend about how I look. But I mean, you can always do it with your mind as well, and because, well, you are doing it with your mind if you use a placebo, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it's up to you which way you want to go about it. Right. So yeah, but that's what I do. And then it's always to be careful as to not, obsess over your broken out skin when you're looking in the mirror and stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, I've done it. Look back at my older videos. You'll see it was a lot worse of a complexion. Yeah. So let's take a look here. So guys, yeah. Which Clinique products do I use? Oh my goodness. We got to talk about this, Monica. I actually use All About Eyes. It really helps get rid of the dark circles. And I use their cream. I use a lot of different Clinique products. I use the Clinique products for combination skin, not for dry skin, because I don't actually have dry skin. So, but yeah, they have some really, really great products. If you're in Canada, the Bay and like Shoppers Drug Mart, they've got consultants there. That's really amazing. So, yeah. Yeah, let's take a look. What else do we got here, guys? But all about eyes is my favorite eye cream. It's like so silky and soft. And don't tell Andrew that I told you this, but I put Clinique on him some days too, especially when I get new products. I'm like, let's try this on you, right? So, and I use like their skin wash and stuff. So everything from them is really, really good. Yeah, let's take a look here. So there's no day, no time a day when I don't think about my specific person, mostly from the state of hoping and patiently waiting. What to do about that? Okay. So what I would suggest, and I get it, you know what? I get it. How can we stop thinking about our specific people? I mean, for instance, Andrew's at work, and how many times have I mentioned him just on this video alone? Okay. He goes through my mind constantly, as I go through his constantly. Haha. And I get exactly where you're coming from. I used to, before me and Andrew were together, I was thinking about him all day long, constantly. And it's like, oh, has he texted me yet? Has he not texted me yet? So what I would suggest doing, first of all, is start manifesting, your list of everyone as you pushed out. Manifest in other areas of your life so you get experience and joy. So like, for instance, when I manifest something like today, I went to grab some lunch from McDonald's and I parked in the stupidest spot. Like I was completely blocked in by the drive-through people, and this is like lunchtime. So I was like, oh my goodness. So anyways, I went in to get my lunch and I came out, and then as I was walking to my car, I was like, you know what? No, I'm like, everyone's going to get out of my way and I'm going to get out of that spot just fine. So I hop in my car, and all of a sudden this truck pulls up like right in front of me. And then all of a sudden he looks at me and he's like, roll down your window. And so I roll down my window. He's like, you're trying to get out, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I'm going to back up for you. And he's like, I'm not sure if you're going to get through the rest of this. And I was like, I'll figure it out. I'm like, and then sure enough, you know what? Every car just moved out of my way. Okay. And then I was like, and I got out, no problem, right? Everybody stopped, got out of my way, and away I went, right? It's like the sea of cars parted just for me, right? It was like everybody was on the same page. They knew, because everyone's you pushed out. So, what I did when I was in your situation is I would start manifesting in other areas. And then I sat down and I said, okay, you know what? I'm not waiting. This is happening. It's happening now. And then I started creating, what was I going to see, hear, and feel when I had what I wanted. So I started intending that Andrew would text me every day. I started intending he'd come over dinner every night, watch movies with me, spend time with me. And I just started doing that every day. And it wasn't about waiting. It was like, no, this is happening. It's happening now. So, there is no waiting. What are you waiting for? It's your reality. Whatever changes and assumptions you need to change about the person, change it now, say it's done now, and say it's happening now, because it is done. Everything in your reality is going to happen according to your thoughts. Okay. So, use the fact that you're spending the whole day thinking about them to start creating what you want to see, right? I think mostly too, what you want to do is dump out all of your negative thoughts about the situation and change them into positive intentions, and then read that a couple times a day, right? Throw so much energy into it, like changing the story. Okay. So, but again, there's no such thing as waiting. So please, let's not, sit around waiting. How can some people spend 1 minute thinking about what they want to manifest and it does? Simple. It can happen for you too. The reason for that is because there's no contrary story. There's no blocks there. Okay. Like for instance, right, today, me trying to get out of the McDonald's parking lot through the drive-through lineup, and weaving through these cars, I didn't have any other contrary thought to it. And I've got the belief that I always get what I want and things always work out for me. Now, for instance, why didn't, the marriage with Andrew happen right away? Well, because I had a story that he, previously married, didn't want to get married again. And then some other, thoughts about myself. I wasn't sure if I wanted to get married, blah, 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 blah. So it's some things where you have zero resistance or blocks, meaning any contrary story, belief, or assumption, they're going to show up immediately. But when it's a deeper rooted thing, sometimes like a relationship, you're going through the story about yourself, right? Like for instance, I know why, we didn't get married after, 6 months of living together, because I wasn't even sure if I was going to get married, right? I wasn't sure if I wanted to. And then when I decided I wanted to, I was like, why doesn't he? And then I remember that I created him with baggage. So sometimes there's story and old assumptions to work through. So, for every thought that you have, it's like, okay, the thought will get through, but some thought can block it. Okay, for instance, I told this money story many times, and I intend whoever lost this gift card to find and manifest, 5 times as much money. But I intended, that I would find money on the ground just out of the blue. I'm like, I intend cash. And I have a story that nobody carries cash anymore. So I was at the bank one day depositing a check or something that I manifested through the mail. And I was like, okay, you know what? I saw this gift card on the ground, and it was like brand new, and it wasn't like, it was in a really odd spot. It looked like it fell out of someone's car. There was nobody around, no cars, because if there was someone to buy it, I would have been like, hey, is this yours? Like, no big deal. Anyways, or if I saw someone drop it, I'd be like, hey, you dropped something, that's what I'm totally like. But anyway, nobody was there because it was a Saturday. And I was like, okay, so I picked it up. And then I went to the grocery store that it was for, and there was $200 on it. So why didn't I find cash? Why did I find a gift card? Because I had the thought that people don't carry cash anymore. They only carry plastic, right? So our our intentions have to weave through all of our other previous assumptions, beliefs, and thoughts that we have. And so it's a partial manifestation. I did find money on the ground, but I didn't find cash like I was intending. But that's because I've got that other story. So that's a simple example about how come things sometimes don't manifest instantly for you. It depends on the subject matter, the history that you have with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So how can I calm my worries about a teen? I don't want to be a helicopter mom anymore because it makes me nervous because he has shown irresponsibility in the past. Okay. So you need to change your worries and like your thoughts, right? So sit down and recreate your teen. Okay. So what's the story that you're holding about them now, right? That, they're, going to do things, and so we want to sit down and go, no, this is who you want him to be. He'll show up who you want him to be. He'll be responsible. Like for instance, right? Like I remember my niece, she was looking to find an apartment, and I was like, she's going to find an apartment. She's responsible. She's reliable. She pays her rent on time, and then boom, that's what happened. And that's what is happening. So I know it can be difficult, with kids and, with, family members and spouses, and anybody that you've got a previous history with. But this is law of assumption. You create, okay? Forget the past that you've created before. Start focusing on what you want them to be now. Go through the scenarios that you're worried about. I mean, I'm just going to make a scenario. And maybe Gerry's my teen and I'm worried about him not saying no to doing things with his friends that I don't approve of. I'm going to look at that situation and say, no, you know what? Gerry's very responsible. Gerry would never do anything that would be irresponsible. Gerry, let's say Gerry's, they want Gerry to go somewhere I told him not to go. I would go through the scenario in my head going, Gerry would never do anything that I would disapprove of. Gerry actions always are what I approve of. So we want to start changing the story about them. And then also, creating for yourself. Okay, I feel confident that my teen is going to be responsible. I feel confident. Okay, all the past, okay, the past was in the past. People change. So does Wild Oats or whatever. Now he's got his head on straight. What are you going to see, hear, and feel when he's, or she, your teen is doing what you want? What, are they they're going to find a career choice or a school choice. They're going to start studying for it. They're going to get their grades up. So, what is the person that you want to see? Because we create our kids as well. Right? So start focusing on who you want them to be rather than worrying about them. Worrying about them is only going to create more worries. Okay. So when you're worrying, you're going to have to catch yourself. Okay. And go to what you want them to be. But what I would highly recommend, Jennifer, is actually writing out a list, of all your worries and then changing them into intentions and then taking it a step further. What are you going to see, hear, and feel when they start being the person you want to be? What are they going to start doing with their life? Okay. So are they going to find, their, the career choice they want to go into, start studying, start trying to get into college or whatever that may be, find a hobby? Like, what do you want to see them do? So you create all of that. Okay. So let's start looking towards the future. Easily my story would be like, you know what? Yeah, when he was younger, in the past, there's been some things that he's done, but he's completely changed around his life now. He's focused, or she's focused on, school and becoming, I don't know, a doctor, and so that's what we want to start doing rather than worrying, is we want to start focusing on them, right? And it's about trusting yourself. It's not so much even trusting your team. It's about trusting yourself and your intentions, okay? Like, for instance, I trust, that Andrew would never cheat on me because I create that. Okay. I could easily create it to be the difference. I can create it to be the opposite. No problem. Right. I have in the past with other, relationships, but not with Andrew. He's never going to be like that. That's my assumption. And I trust my intention. I trust my affirmation. I trust my assumption about him because I've created it and I'm a creator. Right. So it's about trusting yourself too. So yeah. Let's see. Best way to get rid of the idea that time has passed since we talked. Well, you know what? Maybe don't get rid of the idea. Maybe make it work to your advantage. Like, if there's like, for instance, I got an ex back years ago and we hadn't talked for a long time, but it was a very bad breakup. And I used the time as something in my advantage, to my favor. I said, well, you know what? Because it's been so long, he's completely forgiven me. He's totally over it. And he wants to get back together. So you can use the time as to your advantage, right? Yeah. How to feel the feeling of having something. Easy. I intend to feel like I have $1 billion. I intend to feel like I'm in a relationship with my specific person. I intend to feel like I always get what I want. I intend to feel satisfied. I intend to feel good. I intend to feel like I always get what I want. I intend for everything to work out in my favor in a way that makes me feel good. I like that one. I thought of it in the car today coming home. Yeah. So you can call in any feeling that you want. It's up to you. You create that, right? You're welcome, Jennifer. Yeah. Oh, here we go. I love it. Okay. So I want to see him be responsible for creating better study habits and to have a better self-talk. He talks down about himself. Not anymore. Not anymore. He always talks highly of himself. And in fact, you know what? I intend that he, learns a law of attraction, law of assumptions. So yeah. Yeah. So let's take a look here. What else do we got? So maybe one or two more questions. Ani says hi, everybody. Hi, Ani. What if you constantly create the opposite? Okay, start saying, I always create what I want. I always create what I want. I always create exactly what I want. You never create the opposite. Never create the opposite, right? Are we able to revise many things at once or big chunks of the past? Absolutely. I mean, revising the past is just changing your view on it. Okay, so my really good example of revising, right, is, and I love this example. Okay, let's say I go to a party, okay, and you know what, I have a couple and I get all crazy and I like take the lampshade and I stick it on my head and I'm dancing on the table, right? Now, the next day I can wake up and go, oh my goodness, you know what? Everyone probably thinks I made a fool of myself. They can't believe it. Or you can turn around and you can revise it and say, no, everyone thought I was late for the party and people are going to text me and say, oh, you know what? We got to have you again. It was great. Party was boring until you lightened it up. That was so funny. So you can revise great chunks of the past. It's all up to you. The amount that you revise is the amount of the story that you take and change, right? So when I do revision, again, I sit down, I identify what's the problem I need to revise, and then I revise. So if, like, for instance, it's a fight between me and Andrew, I'll revise the fight. Okay, not so much that it didn't happen. I'll revise it that he's understanding, he's caring, and you know what, he realizes that, you know what, he's wrong and that I'm right. And it works. Or, you know what, I've intended that he's completely forgotten about everything bad in our relationship and he only remembers the good things. And that totally works. Totally works. It's funny because we were talking yesterday about something, and he says to me, he was like, I said to him, I'm like, well, don't you remember? We were watching 90 Day Fiance, and they were, you know, this couple was fighting, and I was like, I looked at him, I'm like, you know, we've had a fight about this before, and he was like, I don't remember it. I'm like, of course you don't. Of course you don't. So I'm like, you know, even when I reminded him, you know. So How can you tell if I have a block with communication? I want to reach out to my SP because I feel good reaching out, but I psych myself out because I feel he should reach out first. Okay, Sky. You know what? Okay, so when it comes to communication, right, the biggest block that we see is that, you know what, we're scared to reach out, so they're not going to reach out. So years ago, I had this friend and she wanted to reach out to this guy that she used to date. And she was scared to reach out and she felt like she was going to be rejected, that he should reach out first. And then finally it was like, well, you know what, stop the story. Like, let's stop the story. Like, this whole story is we're coming from rejection. I'm scared they're not going to text me back and he should text me first because I'm scared that he's going to reject me. Okay. So we're putting out a force field of rejection there. Okay. So what happens is finally we talked her out of it. And then she messaged him and he was like, oh my goodness, I'm so happy you messaged me because I was feeling like if I reached out to you, I would be rejected, blah, 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 blah. So I'm not saying be the first one to reach out. Okay. What I'm saying is change that story. Okay. So like, for instance, okay, your friend, okay, you have your best friend and you think you're your best friend and then all of a sudden they text you. Okay, why does that happen, but not with a specific person that we have a rejection story with, or we're worried they're not going to text us back or whatever? Well, that's because with our friend, we don't have that. We would easily pick up the phone and be like, hey, girl, you know, and not have a problem with it. We didn't think twice about it. We didn't have this whole story of, you know, when's my phone her and she's not available. We think, oh, well, you know, I'll text my friend and they'll get back to me when they get back to me, because you have that belief and that assumption that they're going to get back to you. So in order to unblock communication, you don't have to take the action of phoning them and texting them, but you have to be comfortable doing that. You have to come from this story. Everything's okay. I can text them all I want. They always text me back. And in fact, they text me too. We constantly communicate. And you have to change that story enough in you that when you think about texting them, you're not scared, you're not anxious, you're not worried about rejection, okay? Because if you're putting out rejection vibes, even if you text them, they're just going to reject you because that's the vibes you're putting out, okay? So, you know, the whole hurdle of, you know, communicating, it's try not to make it such a big deal, because it really isn't, right? Who messages who doesn't really matter. If we're saying, oh, well, they should do it first, why should they do it first? Is that because they prove that they want to be with you? And if they don't do it first, they're rejecting you? Like, what's the story? Like, we all want someone to chase us, but someone chasing us and pursuing us comes from your story of they want to pursue me. Oh, I can text them all I want. They always like message me back immediately. In fact, they message me constantly. You know, it's coming from that confident story of they chase me. You know what I mean? Rather than, oh, questioning if they want to be with you and having anxiety to reach out. Okay. So if we're coming from, you know, wanting to create communication and manifest a text, we can't come from the feeling of rejection or anxiety that if we text them first, then that's going to be a problem. Do you get what I'm saying? So we get what we give. So, you know, you need to talk yourself into a better story about, yeah, I'll reach out. No problem. You know, I've got this. And you know what? In fact, I don't even need to reach out. He's going to call me first. Right? No, you're welcome. More confidence. Sky, you got this. This is exactly what you need. More confidence. I intend you got more confidence, girl. I intend. I know it's going to happen. So I had a tarot card reading saying my dreams, so the dreams my SP had, which is about him and I being married, was in fact supposed to be about someone else. How can I give it a good meaning? Okay, guess what? Tarot cards aren't real. There's nobody out there but you. You know what? I have a girlfriend and she does tarot, bless her heart. And, you know, one day she's like, can I read your cards? And I was like, yeah. So she did this thing where it was like 3 cards about, you know, and I said in that moment, I want the cards to say that I'm going to get in a relationship, that I'm going to be famous, and that I'm going to be wealthy. And those were the exact 3 cards that showed up. So you're creating what show up in those cards. I remember I was at this other like little psychic fair, and you know how they got that little like crystal thing to see if all your chakras are open, right? I sat there in that moment. I'm like, I intend for her to tell me all my chakras are open. And then guess what she said? All your chakras are open. So guys, you know what? Psychics, tarot cards, they're, you know, you are creating it. It's you. Okay. So, you know, yeah. Only reflect your current energy and fears. Yeah. Like, or, not even that. They reflect what you're thinking. If you want them to say a certain thing, then they're going to say a certain thing. Okay. They're you pushed out just like everybody else. Okay. So if you are going to use tarot cards, then, and psychic readers, then in 10, they tell you what you want to hear. But I mean, at the end of the day, they're only reflecting back your thoughts, your feelings, and your opinion of them, your assumption of them. So yeah, I would take it with a grain of salt, right? Yeah. So the girlfriend of his, I call her the ex, posted a pic of them on Facebook. And I keep saying, she's the ex. That's an old pic. She's gone and never coming back. Is that okay? Absolutely. And then I would also focus on, why he wants to be with you, all the reasons why he wants to be with you. And, and you guys being together, what you're going to see, hear, and feel and do, I mean, there's no right or wrong, right? The only time that I say to put any energy on a third party is if you're thinking about it. Like if you're thinking about it or you come across pictures of the third party, then yeah, in those moments, you got to be on your mental diet and be like, no, they're totally broken up. And then he's going to be with me. You don't need to wish the ex well. You can just say they're gone. They're broken up. Like they never want to be together again. And so wants to be with me. I mean, that's the, when you would want to put some energy towards, changing, because when it comes to your current reality, right? I look at it as my living room. Okay. So if I look at my living room and it's like, oh, couch there. Do I want to keep that note gone? What do I want instead? And I do that with my current reality. So when you see something in your current reality that you don't like, you can't ignore it. You have to look at it and be like, do I want to keep that? Nope. Boom. They're broken up. He's with me. Moving on. Right. And that's, you got to acknowledge and renounce things. Ignoring something and not like dealing with it and not, and creating the opposite intention is not going to actually change anything. Right. Yeah. Hello, everybody. You guys are amazing. I'm a dance team. How can I affirm to be the lead dancer? Oh, you know what? I intend you always get the spotlight. And in fact, you know what? All your guys' fans say how amazing you are. And whoever decides who the lead is, they decided that you're ready for it and that you are the best dancer there, right? So really work on what people think about your dancing. And that you're always the lead, right? You guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much. Yeah. Oh, I've been coaching with Catherine last week. I know she's amazing, right? Yeah, I love her too. She's got great intention tracks too, So yeah, everybody and guys, Katie's back. She's doing her lives, her meditations and her workshops, which are really, really, really great. People really quite enjoy them. So definitely check that out. It's like, I think every second Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. They're really, really cool. And then, we also have the recordings available if you aren't able to make the live. So, but yeah. Well, you guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much for being here. So we'll see you guys next month. And thanks for all the amazing questions. And I intend that this has helped everybody. And and thanks for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. So guys, we'll see you in the next live. Bye-bye.